Well, welcome to Coach's Corner. I'm Perry Williams, and alongside of me today is Westfield girls basketball coach Ginny Smith. Welcome, Ginny.
Thanks for having me.
Well, we talked earlier in the season, and one of the comments you made, this is a totally different team than it was a year ago with all those seniors and 80% of your scoring. But right now, through almost halfway of your schedule, you're 5-6, and you played some pretty good opponents.
Yeah, I think obviously looking at our schedule, we've had some tough games on there, and we've had some, there have been a couple winnable games on there, but I think the kids are doing just what I had hoped they would do in a lot of ways. We are getting better every day. I do think that in terms of understanding the rules and knowing what's expected of them, I think the kids are kind of starting to finally settle into what the expectation is of each of them, and then collectively what the expectation is. But it's taken us some time to get there.
Yeah, but one thing, and I broke this down today, this morning, in fact, and you run a stretch there with playing Rushfield. They were 9-1. Carmel 10-1, and they are just absolutely loaded. And we broadcast that game, and I'm telling you, you played a great first half. I mean, you were in that game. That was a winnable game in that first half. But unfortunately, you have to play a second half.
Yeah.
But you saw some good things, and Zionsville running 11-1. But the thing that I was impressed, it was you come back, you've lost 3 games, okay? You get down against Avon, you were down by 13 points at one time?
Yeah, 10 two different times, so 13. We certainly dug ourselves in a hole there. I think, what all that boils down to is got a group of young ladies that, they're fighters deep down inside, ultimately they understood it was going to be a difficult season. They understood there were going to be some ups and downs, and I think, when you hit a 3-game losing streak, you hope that you can find some way to validate hard work, that you can validate, things that they're doing in there. And I think that, they understood that if they could just kind of keep plugging away, that we weren't going to win or come back against Avon, but if we could do it one possession at a time, we could give ourselves a shot in the end. And I think those kids did it. We changed the fourth quarter. We started pressing some just to try to pick up the defensive intensity, hoping that maybe we could generate some points from our defense, because the reality of it is, we wouldn't be 4-6 or 5-6, I guess we are now, if we could score, because defensively we're pretty solid most of the time. We just can't score, and we're still working through some of that. I truly believe, and I've had this conversation with the kids multiple times. Our job as coaches is to put those kids in the best positions we can put them in to be successful in a scoring position. It's their job to make it. We can't make it for them. And so, right now that's truly what our challenge is. And so, Avon, we still really were struggling to score from the perimeter. So I was hoping that maybe if we could pick them up full court, maybe we could get a couple easy layups and maybe get ourselves going. I think for us that, that as the intensity increased, the fouling did on both ends as well. And I think, we were fortunate to knock down some free throws and pull ourselves ahead down the stretch. So. Avon's not a bad basketball team. They got a ton of size. New coach is doing a great job with them. And those kids are playing hard. So, I think for us, that's a quality win.
Oh, absolutely. This is a team that beat Noblesville earlier in the season, who you played this weekend on Saturday afternoon. But you scored, you got 26 points in the fourth quarter. Is that right? Is it?
Maybe.
It was some pretty big numbers there. And you're right. I believe it was Catter hit 7 of 10 free throws. Okay,
yeah.
So
Catter, Emily Catter and Morgan Clay, both seniors, hit some big free throws down the stretch. They don't hit those free throws, we don't win that basketball game.
Yeah, because Cater's, she only had 9 points, and 7 of them were free throws. So those were huge.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, let's talk a little bit about, you have Noblesville. Do you have anybody tomorrow night?
No. So our next game is Saturday.
It's Saturday against Noblesville in the afternoon. Now, that brings up another question. Is it difficult to prepare? You normally prepare for games at 7:30 at night. Now you have to prepare for a game that starts at 1:30?
Yeah, I don't
Is
think
that-
so. No, not for girls. I would probably say on the boys' side, that'd probably be a much bigger situation, just because that's not the norm for them. We play a lot of day games. In fact, on Saturdays, I prefer early games over night games. I just think it's easier for us to get the kids in the morning, get ourselves settled, and then go play a game versus waiting all day long. Who knows what they're doing throughout the day if you're letting them go all day long. So for us, no, this is a good situation, and we've had 2 solid days, a third day of, just working on us, because we had 3 days in between, and then 2 solid days to just focus on them. And in my mind, that's a perfect situation for us. It gives us a day of all of their offense, a day of all of their defense, and then 1 day for just us, and that's how we like it.
And the one thing about it is when you talk about the Hoosier Crossroad Conference, right now you're sitting 2-1, okay? So you played some of those conference games early, and you have the Noblesville game coming up here on Saturday, and for some reason it always sounds better to be 3-1 than it does 2-2.
Okay, well, yeah,
I'm just saying.
There's no disputing that.
Yeah. So and then you go to what I think's always a great. I guess they still call them holiday tournaments.
Yeah.
At Greenfield Central,
Yeah.
where you play East Chicago Central, right, which is 8-4.
I know, can't catch a break, can we?
No.
No, we
But,
can't.
I think that whether you look at football, basketball, baseball, or whatever sports you want to look at, boys and girls, softball, when you play in Hamilton County and you play in the Hoosier Crossroad Conference, it's no easy night off because, face it, in your non-conference games, you don't want to schedule an easy team.
Yeah.
So it's tough every night.
I do think, and just to kind of go along with what you just stated, it is, there are no real there's no cupcakes out there. But when we do go to holiday tournaments or anything else, or we're playing a non-conference game, there's no better preparation than playing in our conference. If we can compete in our conference, we can compete anywhere. So, for that, yes, Greenfield Central is going to be an incredibly tough tournament, and we're going to go and play some tough teams. But I don't know that we're going to play anybody that's tougher than, an HSE, a Zionsville, a
Right.
Carmel.
Yeah.
So, from that regard, our kids will be prepared.
Yeah, and I'm sure of that. And when we talk a little bit about non-conference, one of the teams that of course you play Newcastle but Hamilton Heights, because that goes back to the situation that they take their basketball serious up there.
Yep.
You've been playing them for years,
Yep.
okay? You've grown as a city here. Hamilton Heights, not so, but they don't forget that, okay? And they have a new coach in Keegan Cherry up there, and they'll come prepared to play basketball.
Those kids are playing well too. I've seen them a couple different times, and I'm impressed with what they're doing. I think, and gosh, they play hard. So that's not going to be. That will be an incredibly difficult game to.
Yeah.
And we're going to Hamilton Heights this year,
Which
as
is
well.
not easy.
It's not. So that's certainly not one you can just mark off the schedule.
But in another instance, that's always a good place to go because they usually bring a pretty good. There's a good crowd there.
Yeah.
So you get that.
Yeah, it's a nice
that
atmosphere to
yeah.
play in. Yeah.
And that's what it's all about in sectional time, because when it comes sectional and you play in this, which is basically a bunch of Hamilton County schools.
Yeah.
The rivalry and talking to some of the coaches on this girls' basketball. I know Carmel's a great team, okay?
Sure.
And so is Southeastern.
Sure.
But in a drawing, if they happen to play each other the first round,
We
okay?
can all hope that could happen,
Yes,
right?
yeah. Then there's some other teams there that can
Yeah.
that can make some noise. And come sectional time, if teams keep progressing like they are now.
Yeah, well, listen, we're all coaching kids here, so the reality of it is anything can happen on any given night.
That's
just
true.
depending on who shows up and who doesn't show up, and especially when you're leaving things to fate like a sectional draw. Now if you did a sectional where you went in based on a seeding or how you did, where your season amounted to where you would be placed, that'd be a different story. But you're right. Maybe they could draw each other and be on an opposite side of the bracket, and it could open up a whole different kind of tournament if that's the case.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Absolutely. Well, kind of talking about the kids a little bit, and well, we don't want to forget them. The girls have done a great job, but for a team that's 5 and 6, you have a pretty balanced attack. most of these girls on any given night can score some points. But like you said, you just can't score enough.
Can't score enough. And the unfortunate thing is, like you just said, on any given night, I don't know what I'm going to get from who.
Right.
So it does make it a little bit more difficult in terms of, the preparation piece and me trying to really get a good handle on what it is we need to do or how we need to do it offensively. Just because there's a lot of inconsistency in what we're doing and how we're performing night in and night out. And we're just not shooting well across the board. And that's not just one kid. I mean, that's all of us. There's not one of us that just stands out and where I feel like if I had to go to somebody, this is who it would be. We don't have that right now. Now, we have some kids that are capable of being that person, and I firmly believe that as we continue to progress through the season, somebody will step up. It just hasn't happened as of yet. So I will say, though, in terms of our inconsistency on the offensive end, what we do bring every night, I think, is a solid defensive effort, and that's what's keeping us in ball games and sometimes winning us ball games.
Coach, when you go through a situation like this with the whole team just not
Yeah.
scoring, what do you do?
So that's an excellent question. When I figure the answer out, I'll let you
Okay.
know. We're just focusing a little bit more in practice. We're really trying to break things down into a little more granular perspective, just to kind of let the kids see. We're trying to show them a little bit more on film. This is what you did. Maybe this is what you should have done. And then to be completely honest with you, I'm doing more shooting in practice right now than I probably ever really have, and more than I'd really like to. In my mind, I try to tell the kids it's not my job to make you a great shooter. It's my job to put you in a position to be successful. But if it means that I have to devote another, 15 to 20 minutes in a practice plan to some breakdown shooting, then that's what I'm going to do right now, just to try to help get us going. So I think, we're just trying to focus on, keeping the main thing, and that's just getting better. And so, we're just trying to adjust little things here and there to try to help the kids be successful however we can.
Well, good. And I wanted to mention to everybody, obviously I want a large crowd there at Noblesville on the Saturday afternoon, but sometimes that doesn't always happen.
Yeah.
But we will be broadcasting that on Hamilton County TV.
Yeah.
So
Should be a great game. Donna
Yeah.
does a nice job with those kids, and they're going to be prepared, and I think it'll be a battle. So, I look forward, and I do hope people come out. Noblesville usually has a pretty good crowd.
yeah, they do. They
Yeah.
do. It's a fun place to play.
It is.
I enjoy broadcasting girls basketball. Unfortunately, I have a wedding to go to this week, so I probably will not be broadcasting on Saturday afternoon's game, but I may be there for a little while. So I wish you guys the best of luck.
Thanks.
And hopefully you can start hitting the bucket.
Let's hope. Keep your fingers crossed.
All right, thanks, Coach.
All right.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.